Good evening. Welcome to this evening's free Zoom about stress and the holidays. So, what are some of the situations that come to mind right away when you are thinking about the holidays? The stress of shopping, the stress of cooking, the stress of family, the stress of getting it all right. How many of you have been trying to get the holidays right all these years? And in that process, what gets lost is you. So I just wanted to read a little definition of stress. Stress is a state of mental or emotional strain or tension resulting from adverse or demanding circumstances. Pressure or tension exerted on a material object. Stress is the space of being where you believe you cannot change something. So, if there were anything that I could gift to you during this holiday season, it is truly the gift of you being more of you. And what does that even mean? How do you know when you're being more of you? One of the easiest tools to utilize to get to a state of really being you, because what happens is when you are being you, it doesn't feel like anything. It's not a state of being or a state of feeling that you can describe to somebody. It is truly you being you, and it feels like nothing. So, the tool that goes with that is living in 10-second increments. And you're probably thinking to yourself, what in the heck does that even mean? If you were to truly live your life from 10-second increments, you would be living in a space without projections, expectations, and judgments. So really bring that down to a basic level of thinking, well, how the hell do you live your day in 10-second increments? Think about all the times throughout the day that you have decided that things are going to be a certain way, that you decide that A, B, and C is going to end up with X, Y, and Z. How many times throughout the day do you throw projections into how you live your life, how you go through your day? How often do you stop and think to yourself, what would I like to create in this 10 seconds? In this 10 seconds, I'd like to sit in front of my Christmas tree with all of my dogs listening to me and talk about living in 10-second increments. The thing with living in 10-second increments is that you really are getting to a space of what is it that I want to do here? So back to living in 10-second increments as my dogs so noisily decided they needed to interrupt the Zoom tonight. Most people never truly create their life. Most people try to figure out how to live their life as a reaction to other people's needs. And especially at this time of the year, especially if you're a parent, or even if you're not, just having someone in your life that you are looking at how you make decisions in your life dependent on other people's needs. So, an example of that would be if I were going to make a decision about whether I should travel for work, my first thought is, how does that impact everybody else in my life? And the second thought is, how will they react to that? That is living your life from a state of reaction versus creating your life in 10-second increments. So, what if you were to allow you to be you and not be governed by what you are perceiving somebody else's reaction is going to be? A great question to ask yourself when you're attempting to live your life in 10-second increments. What else is possible? What else can I do or be? What else can I create or generate? What else would be fun for me? What if the purpose of life was to truly have fun? And what if that was the overriding question that you use throughout the day as you are making decisions? It may sound a little crazy to you. It may sound irresponsible. It may fly against everything that you have been taught your whole life. And that's what I'm hoping for. I am hoping that you are at a space in your life where you're ready to turn over and really examine some of the foundations that you have been taught throughout your life. So, to get back to diminishing stress throughout the holidays, living your life in 10-second increments is a really interesting space to be in. So imagine that family gathering that you've gone to year after year, your entire life, and you're there with your parents and your grandparents and cousins and siblings. And there's a certain rhythm to things that you have become accustomed to. And there are certain expectations that you may have walking into family functions, like, oh, Uncle Eddie is going to get sauced before dinner time, or, the grandkids are going to be responsible for washing up the dishes after dinner before Santa comes. These are just some of the things that, kind of pulling from my childhood. Not, I didn't have an Uncle Eddie that was sauced before dinner, but we did actually wash the dishes before Santa came. But let me ask you, in all those family holidays, how much of the time did you have that kind of angsty feeling, or that feeling in the pit of your stomach that something wasn't quite right, and you thought to yourself, well, is this really how it's supposed to be, or could it be different? And so those circumstances, when you're having that feeling, it is another tool that is very helpful when dealing, especially with family and friends over the holidays, is that tool of what we call light and heavy. And when I say we, all the tools that I'm describing are tools of access consciousness. I am an access consciousness certified facilitator. I should have started out with that. But one of the tools that we use is light and heavy. So if something is light for you, it's true for you. If something feels heavy to you or feels like a contraction in your body, there is a lie, and it's not something that's true for you. So something I would challenge you to do over this holiday season is truly go into these family situations and instead of going in with these projections and expectations, really go in with none of that. So if you don't have projections and expectations of how something is going to occur, then you are actually in allowance of what is happening around you. And that allowance and that space is what is truly being you and what being you is all about. When you get to that space, you will see very different things happen at your family functions. You will have people relate very differently to you in ways that perhaps they never have. They will probably have a true sense of you being there, present with them fully. And whether or not they are able to consciously think of that at that time, they will be able to perceive it, whether they want to or not. Because you being the space of you is something that can change the world. And you can start at the smallest places, like your own family, whether it's your extended family or your immediate family, and to have that space of being you then trickle out to the other people in your environment changes the way that things happen. I have noticed it in just simple conversations when perhaps you have a group of people and things are at a very shallow level, and you being the space of you will suddenly kind of like knock into somebody's world, like dominoes hitting each other, marbles knocking into each other. And what will happen is that other people will then feel that space themselves and allow themselves to open up and be more of them. So you could say, well, who cares? I mean, what does it really matter? Like, what do you mean being you? We have got, obviously, a lot of crazy crap going on in the universe right now that is fully based on fear. And what I'm inviting you to is a different space, and a space of creation. Because you truly are not creating your life if you are functioning from projections and expectations. What you're doing is you're just living in this reoccurring theme that everybody wants to create their future from their past, which is impossible. It's not truly a creation. I shouldn't say it's impossible. It's not truly a creation. And what it is it's a recreation of the past, something we might call a virtual vibrational reality. It's not really living. So one clearing that I would like to put in here at this point, and in Access Consciousness, we use clearing statements as ways of bringing to the forefront something that is kind of sticky in our world and kind of blasting it out of existence. So my question in this clearing is, who or what are you allowing to control or limit your life, your living, your reality, and your future? And everything that is times a godzillion, really destroy and uncreate it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And that, if you've never heard it before, is the Access Consciousness Clearing Statement. You can get more information on that at theclearingstatement.com. But basically, the clearing statement is the end part that is really designed to kind of blast through all the crap. So, other tools, we've gone through 2 tools now. We've got number 1, live your life in 10-second increments. Number 2 was light and heavy. And number 3, which is a great tool to use when you're just in those kind of acute situations where things may feel very frustrating. And that tool is interesting point of view. And you can use this in many different configurations. You can use it in interesting point of view. I have this point of view. Interesting point of view. They have this point of view. So when you're in those family situations, and perhaps you're a single person who, or a single person in your family, and of course everybody's question is, when are you getting married? When are you going to settle down? Now, you don't say this out loud because your family may like lock you up in the closet, but in your head, just say, interesting point of view. They have that point of view. Interesting point of view. They have that point of view. Interesting point of view. I have that point of view, that they have that point of view. And what this does is it really kind of shakes out all of that crazy stuckness that family and friends will trap you in, because that's what they know. Their lives are based on projections, expectations, judgments. And these 3 things are used every day by most people. Most people get up in the morning and they project what their life is going to be, or their day is going to be like, based on how they feel as soon as they wake up. Their expectation is, work's going to suck today. And their judgment of all of these things, or other people, or whatever situations, those 3 things, projections, expectations, judgments, lead to nothing great. It leads to separation and rejection. So people use judgment to separate and reject. And that separation and rejection may be of other people, but ultimately that separation and rejection is really of them. And again, to circle back to the whole idea of you being you, you can't do this with projections, expectations, rejections, judgments, separation. That process right there is the truest way to not be you. So, what if you being you is the greatest gift that you can be this holiday season to yourself, to your family, to your friends? Would you be willing to use these 3 little tools throughout this month to try to get to that state of being you? One of the statements that Gary has, Gary Douglas is the founder of Access Consciousness. When he talks about being you, actually creating your life versus projections, expectations, judgments, separations, rejections. Whatever I'm going to have, it has got to be the best that there is possible. I don't want to live my life from the things I can't have as though what I can't have is what I would like to have. I am going to have everything I would like to have. If I get more than that, great. It's a different way of living your life. I am interested in living my life as a richening of everything I have. Which leads me to the final tool for tonight, which is a question that is not meant to be answered. It is a question that opens you up to whatever the universe can possibly provide. And that question is, what else is possible? So I hope that during this holiday season, you ask what else is possible. And that's a really great question to ask anytime. When things are great, when things are bad, what else is possible? You're not answering it. You're not looking for an answer. Because an answer does not provide you with possibilities. A question provides you with those possibilities. So just a quick recap, the 4 tools. What else is possible? Living your life in 10-second increments. Light and heavy. Interesting point of view. I have that point of view. So I will send out the recording of this video, and I hope that you all use these 4 tools throughout the month and see what shows up in your life and see what shows up in your family gatherings. I wish you ease, joy, and glory, and happiest of holidays.